Hello, today I will be completing the tiger head. I make sure that after I start a new part that I look at the information that I have and I change whatever I need to change according to the design intent of the project that I am working on. So right now I'm just going to work on the mechanical head, and I will start with a regular sketch. So I go to begin a sketch or create a new sketch, and I'm going to do it in the front plane. I'm going to click on the line command and start drawing, just like the book says, start drawing from one, and just clicking in different areas to select and to create what the shape. Now let's look at the constraints that we have in these green squares. Notice that the first one is a coincident constraint. So SolidWorks immediately placed a coincident constraint between the first point that I created and the point of origin. The next constraint that he created is a vertical constraint, which is what I want because that line will stay there. The next one here, this is a parallel constraint between line 2 and this line here. Unfortunately, this is a constraint that I really do not want because these lines are not going to be parallel at the end. So to erase a constraint, just hover over it and right click. And once you right click, you go to delete. Now let's look at the next constraint that it created, and it created a parallelism constraint between this one and that one. Again, this is not a constraint that I want, so I hover over it, right click, and press delete, and it gets rid of that. Now I can move this anywhere I want to, and it will not create any problems. From then, notice that the last 4 constraints that I have are vertical and horizontal constraints, which is what I wanted, so that's good. If for whatever reason you are not seeing these, you can choose to come over to the little eye here for visibility and click on this little icon there, and you can turn the visibility for your constraints or your relations on and off using this button. I'm going to go ahead and turn them on because I want them to be there. I want to make sure that I am placing the right constraints for these lines, or the right relationships for these lines. So now that I have that, I will start with my smart dimensioning. I am going to place this dimension here, and that is 1.46. Place a dimension from here to there, and that should be 1.492. Okay. I am going to do the same thing here. The dimension from here is 1.46. The dimension between here and there should be, again, 1.492. And the dimension down here, this one should be 1.425. Notice that it has distorted my image. If I want to, I can get out of the smart dimensioning command and just pull some of these points to a specific area so that I can see them better. Okay. Go back to smart dimensioning. To dimension an angle, I can just click on both lines. And notice that automatically SolidWorks understands that we're trying to give that angle. This angle should be 50. Notice the degree sign for that particular dimension. I'm going to do the same thing over here. 50 degrees there. I also need to set up the dimension between this point and this line, and that will be 0.1. And the same goes for this one. 0.1 here. Now, this line is really not necessary, so I can get out of Smart Dimensioning right now, and I am going to click that line. Notice that it's highlighted, and I can just go right click and delete it. Instead of it, I am going to create an arc. For this one, I think I'm just going to do a 3-point arc. Okay, so I'm going to do first point, second point, and the third point will be somewhere around here. Now I'm going to smart dimension that arc. It really is not important where I place these dimensions, as long as the dimensions are there to fully define this object. As you can see, the arc is the only line that is not fully defined. And so I already have the size of the arc, but I don't have the position for the arc. And typically the position has to be placed according to the center point or some other dimension. So there's 2 dimensions that are missing. So I'm going to click on this point and this line because that is a dimension that is given to me. And the dimension here will be 0.7125. It's still underdefined. There's one more dimension here and there, and that should be 0.315. And now you notice that my arc is black, which means that the object is fully defined. I can also check by looking over here. One tendency that students tend to do is like, okay, now that it's fully defined, let me erase these because it just crowds the whole sketch and it's just too many lines and I don't understand why I may have them. Do not do that. These dimensions are really important because it is easy to change something without realizing it. So by leaving your dimensions there and making sure that your sketch is fully defined, you are fulfilling the design intent for the particular part. So now I'm going to go ahead and exit the sketch. Once I exit it, I can go ahead and do the features and do an extrusion of it. And the extrusion for it should be 0.1, which is what we have here. And now I'm going to click OK. Next, we will create our next extrusion. We will use the back of the object to do that. So I am going to C and make sure that I expose the back of the object to be able to draw that sketch there. I can start that sketch using the extrude boss command. It would eliminate one step because the software already knows that I need to start with a sketch. I'm using the rectangle command and I am just going to create a rectangle like this. I will smart dimension it. The dimension here should be 0.075 and the other dimension is 1.17. Now I want you to notice that once I rotate this, the sketch is drawn on using this plane, which is the plane of the object itself, because that is what I clicked. Now notice where the point of origin is, and that is again on that same plane. Doesn't matter how large or how small your sketch is, it will be created in that plane, whether it is on the actual feature or not. So now what I'm going to do is constrain it to the actual feature. For that, I can still smart dimension it. I'm going to click this line for it, and I can click this edge here to establish that distance between the edge and the edge of my rectangle. So this edge should be 0.675. And notice how my whole rectangle moved. Now I'm going to create another dimension from the bottom edge of my rectangle and the bottom edge of my solid surface. and I am going to give it a distance of 0 for that. Notice that now all my lines are black. That means it is fully constrained, and I am ready to do my extrusion. Get out of the Smart Dimensioning command. I can exit the sketch here, and the extrusion, as noted in the book, should be a distance of 0.45. I can rotate this to make sure that it is what I am wanting to do, and that is correct, so I just check OK, and now it has created that extrusion attached to it. Notice now that I have a second boss here. Now what we're going to do is use a different command, and this is the extrude cut command. So I can access it here from the feature panel. I click on that, and then it's asking me on what plane do I want to draw. I clicked on this plane because that's where I want to draw it, and I am just going to use lines and kind of mimic what the book instructs us to do. Notice that I am coming over to the corner of that object and coming back to the original point. That way I make a full section here, which is called a profile. We need full profiles to be able to extrude, cut, or do any type of extrusions to create a solid or cut into a solid. So now I'm going to dimension that. This should be 0.35. Distance from there to there should be 0.95. From this point to the point in the corner there should be 0.09, and then the distance from this line to this point coming this way should be 0.125. All my lines are black. That means it is fully defined. I can get out of my command, exit the sketch, and now I can do the cut. It's asking me for what direction I want, so I can go through all, click on that. Notice that it will cut it the way I want, and if I am satisfied with that result, I am going to say OK, and it does it for me automatically. Now we're ready to finish the tiger head. As you can see, the back is already finished, and I just need to add the two legs that are at the bottom here. So here I'm going to start with the extrude boss command. Click on the bottom plane of the tiger face because that's where I want to draw my circles for the little pegs that are going to be the legs for this particular feature of the part. Okay, and notice that I drew two circles. I'm going to draw these two at the same time, and then do some smart dimensioning with this. So I'm going to click here. This should be 0.1. Distance from here to there should be 0.155, and then the distance from here and there should be 0.05. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to this side. 0.1. Okay, notice that both circles are now black, and I can exit my sketch. Want you to see what's going on now, and from there I am going to change the length of my extrusion and say OK. Now I'm done with that part of the tiger head. The display manager, there is one little icon here, and is for view decals. Now, SolidWorks already comes with several different ones, but we want to incorporate a different one. So what I'm going to do here is just bring whichever, it doesn't really matter which one you bring in, as long as you just drag it to your solid piece. Now notice here that on the left hand side things have changed. It shows it a little decal, but the good thing is that it exposes this browse button, and that's all I am after. Now remember that I shared with you the Tiger Face BMP file, and now you need to locate that in your flash drive or wherever you saved it. I have mine in a different spot, so I'm going to go ahead and extract that from where I have it. Okay, and once I get it, before I even exit out, I want to make sure that I make it big enough so that it covers my whole area. I like that there. And so once I am done, I am going to click the OK button. And there it is. My tiger face is finished. And that is all for this part. So this is the end of this. So now all I have left is to save the file. I'm going to do save as, and the book tells you to save it as tiger head, which you need to do that. And before you do that, just make sure that you save it in the mechanical tiger folder that we have created. And here you go. Now it's saved and it's ready to go.